Trust and respect is not only in romantic relationships, it's core values when it comes to building relationships in general.
I think gratitude as well is another big one. Being grateful for what you have and for those around you, and spreading that in a way that's positive allows you to be a nicer and a more respectful human being.
Being empathetic will help you to battle your own demons. I think it's a very, very good point.
We all ask for respect.
Yeah.
And yes, it is the bare minimum of what we should all have. But equally, we have to be just as respectful out there.
Hey people, welcome back to Triangle Theory. Today we're going to talk about respect and kindness. A lot of us knows the importance of being respectful and kind to each other, but we forget the importance of being respectful and kind to ourselves. And in this episode, we will touch on why trust and respect are the building blocks of human relationships. Are people getting bitter as they age? Why we should be kind to each other, and most importantly to ourselves. What being empathetic to each other will help you to battle your own demons.
Can we be kind and respectful to each other? Can we be too nice? I think it's really important to understand in this episode, it's about kind of figuring out what it means to be kind to ourselves in order to be the best people that we can be in order to support and be there for other people around us. I think it's also about understanding boundaries as well, and boundaries for yourself, and understanding those of boundaries of other people as well. So yeah, super excited to dive into this one actually.
Likewise. So we're going to start from the trust and respect are the building blocks of human relationships. And I want to kind of start with a little story because I was speaking about it with my mom a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And so she's 65 years old at the moment. And because I started to date my current girlfriend, I asked my mom, what do you think are the building blocks of a successful relationship? And she said, if you don't have trust and respect, you can't really build any relationship. And when you think about it, so trust and respect is not only in romantic relationships. I think it's a core values. It's core values when it comes to building relationships in general. So because if I don't trust you, we can't build business together. If I don't trust you, I'm not going to invite you to my home to share food with you. If I don't respect you, we can't get into a relationship, obviously. And at the same time, if I don't really respect you or trust you, we wouldn't do this podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually think that you can't fully love someone if you don't trust them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it was very interesting because when you talk with people a lot older, and especially my mom, I think at her age, she's very wise at the moment, and she lived enough to actually tell me these things that I would never really think about in the past. And yeah, it was really, really interesting because she had her fair share of boyfriends, husbands, and hearing that from her, I think it's a very credible source to trust it.
So when it comes to sort of building trust and foundationally kind of understanding that, what does it mean to you to build that? How would you build that with someone if in a relationship, whether it be like a girlfriend or friend, or even with me, for example? How would you try and establish trust, and how would you try and do that in a way that's kind of allowing you to be, do you feel that comes from developing the self?
I believe you have to be secure in yourself to start building the trust, because you see, when it comes, I guess it's easier for me to talk in terms of romantic relationships. So you see a lot of these, a lot of the times now, especially in this day and age, there's this cheating culture, so to speak, that people grabbing their phones and checking their partner's phones if they're cheating or not. And I think it comes from, are you secure enough to allow that person to talk with other people? And obviously have to draw boundaries, right? Like if my girlfriend talks with other men about like flirting on Insta or like on WhatsApp, yes, there has to be some sort of a boundaries to draw even before you get into a relationship. I think you have to have this conversation, what you want to allow and what you don't want to allow. But at the same time, you have to allow that person to say, if my girlfriend wants to go out with her friends in a club, yeah, why not? Like, why would I stop her from going where she wants to go with her friends? It's just, I feel like if you don't allow your girlfriend or a friend, whatever, or boyfriend, I don't know, go to clubbing or whatever, where there is huge percentage of other men or other girls, women, I don't think you should feel like, oh, she's gonna cheat on me. Just allow her to do it, and then see where it goes.
How do you cultivate that trust that you both have in your relationship? How do you create that trust that you know that she's not going to do that?
I don't know. I feel it's just from talking about these topics, and I see, like, we sit down sometimes and we talk about what we want from our relationship in the future, and
So developing more of an expectation.
yeah, it's more like an expectation. Yeah, and I trust her enough to even if she would do it, I feel like that's gonna sound very arrogant, but I'm gonna say it. I feel I'm very secure in myself, and even if she do it, if she would do it, I know I would be sad for like a month or two. But then, regardless of that, I feel like that's a good thing that she did it, because I'm not spending enough more time with that person. Because regardless, she meant to do it. So I'd rather her doing it earlier than later.
For sure, because I think it's about understanding your self-worth when it comes to understanding respect.
Mm.
When you've got respect for other people, inherently you need to respect yourself first. And I think when you talk about cultivating respect, and hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far into the podcast. If you have any feedback, then please let us know, as we always want to make this podcast better. So hearing from you is always a pleasure. Please subscribe to all of our platforms, get involved at Triangle Theory. If you've got any comments, or if you want to share any topics that you think that me and Conrad would like to talk about, then please get involved. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. You respect her enough that you know that you're not going to do that, because
Exactly.
you not only respect yourself, but you equally respect her, right?
Yeah.
But then there also comes cultivating trust within your relationship, knowing that you two aren't going to do that at all. And if you did, you would be able to say it quite openly and go, hey, I fucked up, or whatever it might be. I suppose when it comes down into a romantic setting, it's knowing who you're with.
Yeah.
And understanding your boundaries and their boundaries, and knowing what offends you and what doesn't offend you. Like, would you say that if you were to talk to another girl and it wasn't anything to do, and let's say you weren't even talking inappropriately, would that be a step in her boundaries? Like, probably not, because you're just talking about it. But I think the moment where it becomes where you're doing things in secret, or doing things where it's kind of in a disrespectful way, where that's where it starts to cross a line.
Yeah. It's the intention, right?
It's
like, if I'm talking to a girl and I'm just talking because, God knows, maybe she asked me something that, okay, so I went to this visualization event a couple of weeks ago, and it just basically talked about how to reprogram your mind and just achieve your goals faster, in a way. So, and I was talking to this woman there, and we just talked, but then there was an intention for me to think that, or would like to invite her on a date, or would like to play with her or something. It wasn't anything like that. I wanted to say fuck, but I didn't want to say fuck.
You can
but
say
I said it
on
now.
this podcast as well.
Yeah, play is fine.
Yeah.
But my intention wasn't to flirt with her. It was just talk. So alternatively, you have to trust your girlfriend as well. If she's talking with a guy, I know she's not flirting with him. Well, I don't know actually, but I feel like I could feel if she's flirting with him or not, I think.
If she was flirting with another guy, but she knew her intent was being... Because I think sometimes women can talk to a guy and a guy will register that immediately as, oh, she's flirting with me, even though she's not. She's just being kind.
Yeah.
And that's where you kind of have to have that security within yourself, knowing that, yeah, she can talk to other people and I'm not going to fly off the handle because she's allowed to do that, because I'm secure in myself. I'm not like, oh, she can't talk to anyone. I know you're not like that, because maybe you've done the work and you know that You know your values, and you know where you sit, and you know how much you're worth.
Yeah.
And I feel that's really important when coming into any situation, whether it being a friendship or a relationship. Like even the relationship that we have as friends,
Yeah.
we know that we, I suppose, there for each other in situations where it might be if you needed a hand or if you needed help, or even if you wanted to talk to me, like, yeah, more. But I wouldn't. It's about cultivating and understanding, like you say, the expectations and intent,
Yeah.
and you know what it is that you're going to get out. Not like what you're going to get out of it, but I suppose that you have this form of understanding that you're both, well, let's say us for example, that we both know that we would both do the same for each other,
Yeah.
and I think that that's really important. I think that's because we're as kind to each other as we are kind to ourselves. We understand. I think we look at it from a form of empathy. Do you think that people aren't kind enough in this world to each other? Do you think people could be more kind?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do believe that people get bitter as they age, and there's various reasons for that, like life experiences. If okay, so my life was great enough to not get bitter, and I can't talk for everyone, but I feel like that from the from birth we all are good people. It's not like we born as bad people. We have 1% that are psychopaths, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But then the majority of people are just good people, I guess. But as I said, through life experiences, you can get bitter. People get raped. People get sacked from jobs. Their careers fail. Their partner cheats on them. They lose their kids. They lose their family members, and these things just essentially compound. And yes, you can become bitter and a bad person because bad things happen to you. But I guess it's as well, it's very important to realize that life happens to you, not for you. So is how you look at these situations. We mentioned in a previous podcast that every bad is just opportunity, and I'm not saying that if you get raped, there's an opportunity to get better. Yeah, that's a really bad thing that happened to you, and it's really unfortunate, and it's not your fault. But you don't have to become a bad person because that thing happened to you. What do you think about it?
I mean, yeah, like in terms of that situation, it's I mean, luckily I don't know anyone or have been involved.
Exactly.
Yes, and I
It's very hard to tell because
how
it
you
never happened to us. Yeah.
come back from that. But I think when it comes to bitterness and progressing with age, I mean, as I get older, I think my tolerance shrinks for sure.
Mhm.
Like definitely, my patience wears thinner now.
Yeah.
Like even sitting on the tube and like, people huffing and puffing, getting close to my personal space. Like, does that make me sometimes annoyed and a bit bitter? Like, yeah, like I can hand on heart say like I've had my moments where I absolutely hate people, like for sure. But I
Yeah.
also love and
Yeah.
adore people, and I actually think being in London has allowed me to cultivate more sensitivity in my life, because I think with London, especially having its up and downs for sure, and being in close proximities with people, it's allowed me to understand how incredibly culturally diverse this city is, and I absolutely adore that. I think that London is such an amazing city in the sense of it's this kind of pool of so many different people and cultures, and when I've tried to understand a bit more kindness and respect for other people, I've only learned that through trying to understand as many different people as possible. And
Yeah.
I think when you give people that chance to show and understand who they are and where they come from, I think it really allows you to understand the significance of the planet in general. And I think that's a really important factor, because if you're trying to cultivate more kindness and respect others in your life, I think it's just a case of going out and talking to as many different people as possible from as many different as many different cultures as possible, because that allows you to understand who they are and where they're from and what their beliefs are and what their opinions are. And that gives you more of an understanding of yourself in a way,
Yeah.
because everyone's different. Everyone's going to think differently to you. Everyone's going to have their different
Yeah.
opinions, religions, backstories, triumphs, beliefs,
Exactly.
all these
Yeah.
different things.
It's not. I have to touch as well on it. But it's not only life experiences that changes you. It's just you can be from a different culture and see things differently.
Mm.
As an example, people from certain parts of India eating with hands, and from my culture we just eating with forks, and it would be or like Chinese people eating with the sticks. So just by these little things, we would look at it at the situation is completely different, because we're not really used to eat with hands nor with sticks. I remember back in Lithuania we had this sushi restaurant opened, and it was literally a new thing, because up until then we just used to eat Lithuanian food. There wasn't really different cuisines and dishes, and we came into this Chinese restaurant, and there was sticks on the tables.
The chopsticks.
Chopsticks, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had no idea how to use them. I was like, just bring me a fork. Like, it's so silly when I remember that, because it's just like we never see that. We never seen that in the past, but that's what I'm trying to.
It allows you to have a completely different
Exactly.
respect for a whole different culture that
Exactly,
uses
yeah.
chopsticks,
Yeah,
right? And it's
yeah.
so simple, and it's funny because I think where I've had my kind of career experience all in hospitality, which is based around food, all I've wanted to do is try different foods and try different cultures, and London's amazing for that, because you can try the best Bangladeshi food, you can try the best jollof, you can try the best, Asian food, anywhere in London. And I think food is directly linked with culture, and whenever I've tried different food, it's given me a whole newfound respect for that culture, that person, that cuisine, and that's just really,
it's true though,
and that really just like eating my way around the world and traveling around the world gave me a whole different newfound respect for loving, because you can't beat the taste of when you taste something that's like delicious and it's not even from your own culture. You can't help to be like, oh my god, like. And that allowed me to develop further empathy and further understanding and further respect into cultures. And I thought food was a really beautiful way of kind of tying that. So I think when it comes to understanding and respecting different people, go out and try as much stuff as you can. At least that was something for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that allowed me to kind of bridge the gap.
A bit off topic. What's your favorite cuisine?
I'd have to say probably sushi and like Japanese food.
Really?
Yeah, because the cleanliness of it, the umami kind of flavors of it. Like that's the food I could eat every day.
I wouldn't
You
have
would have
guessed
thought
that.
Mexican, right?
No, I thought maybe Indian. I thought you were gonna
Yeah,
say Indian
I
or
do love
something,
Indian food.
Mediterranean.
Anything spicy as well. I absolutely adore. What about you?
It used to be definitely Indian, but I think I'm leaning more into Greek now.
Really? Well, just like fresh seafood. It's very healthy.
I'm not into seafood that much. It's
Okay.
like Greek. I love about the like different, like you got
The
like
meze
pizzas,
stuff.
and then there's different
yeah.
tzatziki, and then you got hummus, and
Man, don't fucking make me hungry.
I love it.
No, it's really cool, and I think that it's such an important one, because when I thought about the beginning of this episode and kind of talking about, what does it mean to be nice, and what is and I really think it comes down to understanding one another more on a fundamental level. And when you think about all humans eat, and we all love to eat, and we all love to enjoy things, when it comes to kind of wanting to create more of a kinder world, like fuck, what's more like break bread with each other. Like I'll never forget this story where me and Charlie, we went to Morocco. For anyone that doesn't know, Charlie's my brother. Went to Morocco and it was during Ramadan.
Twin brother, by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We went to Morocco in Marrakesh and it was during Ramadan. And I was like, let's do the fast. And we went to, I think we took a train. I can't remember exactly where it was, but we took a train and then we got into a hostel. We didn't eat, drink water the whole day on the train. It was boiling hot because it's like the most hottest time of year. And when we got to this hostel, the owner of the hostel was like, would you like to break fast with us? And it just made me have this respect for the culture, the religion, breaking bread with people that didn't know who I was. I didn't know who they were, but there
Yeah.
was this like immediate, like, hey, have this,
Mm-hmm.
eat this, try this. Oh, you haven't tried this before. And there was just this conversation and this flow. And I was like, my head just exploded and I was like on cloud nine because I just couldn't help to feel that, oh, this is how humans connect.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just over something so simple.
It really reminds me of that experience that you just mentioned. It really reminds me of traveling as well, because you meet different people and you interact with their culture, especially if you go into places like Southeast Asia, which is completely different from
It's a culture
what
shock.
you see now.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you grew up and anything that you're familiar with is a completely different place, and they are willing to show you, and they're making this amazing food, and as you mentioned, is a great experience to just appreciate other people just by traveling.
Definitely. And I think it's actually really cool because I used to love, whenever I go traveling, I try not to book too much or make an itinerary. I like to leave a lot
Yeah,
of space
exactly.
just to be able to roam around and explore a bit
Mm-hmm.
because you never know who you're going to meet, what you're going to see, what might take you away, you know, what might interest you.
Yeah.
And just getting lost in a culture in a different city or a different place was always something that I was just, yeah, I want more of that. And I still do. And I still
Yeah.
try and do that. And when I was younger, traveling around, that just made me develop. When I really think about it, being 18 and traveling all of those different countries, taking all of that in was such a privilege because what it did was allow me to have this deeper understanding and connection with people because I just was taking it all in and seeing this whole newfound culture and understanding, and that allowed me to, I felt that was like making me more of a kind person
Absolutely. Yeah.
because it was like breaking up routine. It was completely opening my eyes to a whole different world that I'd never seen. Like,
You're kind of finding yourself while you travel as
in
well.
in a way, because if I think about growing up in Oxford, where it was just a very small town, you know, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine's mum, being like, "Yeah, I'm going to Thailand." And she was like, "Where is that?" Couldn't even point it out on a map.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's just crazy. And I think about it I think about that all the time because mental that I was that young doing that.
Yeah.
But I learned far more doing that than I ever did in school, and
Absolutely.
I was just completely blown away by what I was seeing on a daily basis.
Yeah,
And that just, I felt like I was learning because when you're traveling, it's almost like a survival thing as well. You're taking everything in. So, you know, when you meet people, you trying to understand instinctually who is that. And yeah, just from that point of view, I had to be kind in order to navigate those situations. And that teaches you very quickly what kind of person you are. How do you
Absolutely. Yeah.
how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think when I was thinking about this podcast, it was, you know, travel more, get out and meet people more, try new foods, put yourself in situations where you're open to talking to people.
Yeah,
And
meeting people.
that allows you to create more extended empathy for others. And I think that that's really kind of bridging the gap and communicating more. And I think you also find yourself in the reflection of others.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, that's a good one.
the more you open and understand and go into a conversation with someone that you don't know, allows you to understand who you are more of. And that was like what I learned in that trip.
Yeah, that's a really good one. But why do you think we should be kind to each other in the first place? Why we need that? Why we just can't?
What be mean?
Not mean, but just be like neutral. Oh, all right. I'll ask a different question.
No,
I
it's
think
good.
I didn't formulate it that well. Do you think that? I guess that goes back to a previous question. Do you think that we are naturally kind people, and why we should show kindness to each other?
Yeah, I think when you look at children and you see like, if you look at nursery children, you see children playing with, you could say Christians, Jews, mixed, like, you know, so many different, like there's no boundaries.
Exactly.
Right? There's no, there's no kind of reservations, right?
You know, you know what is interesting when you said it, because I have a nephew and a niece. Well, they're a bit older now, but when my nephew's 14 and my niece is 9 now. But I remember I was going to pick up them from the school. Well, I went to pick up my nephew from school, and at that time he was probably like 7 or maybe 6. Um, and I went there. I saw him playing with other kids, and there were Chinese person, a black person. There was such a variety of people, and none of them were thinking about any racism or anything like that. And I thought, these kids, there's we simply program these kids to be racist in a way. Some of them, I mean, through like living and just showing these different bad things that happens in life, but they have no idea what is a color.
No, they have no
Like
idea.
they don't see that
Yeah, of course.
as other people see in a way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and I do believe you can be more naturally nice. Of course, like,
Yeah.
we don't know the difference, right? And that's really important. So I do believe fundamentally human beings are nice. Like, we are. It's about your choices
Yeah.
and who you surround yourself with and who you listen to. And you know, I feel that right now we live in a world that is filled with with hate in a way, and it's really difficult to shut. You can't. I think sometimes you can't reprogram people, and you have to have very much an open. It's a hard one, because do you think it's a choice that people aren't nice? Maybe. Do you think that maybe they've had a really shit time and, you know, they don't think any different, and you look at their circumstances?
Exactly, life
There's
experiences
There's
and
this really good YouTube channel I think he was on Joe Rogan, and it's called I think it's called White Collar Underbelly, and he's like a photographer, and he goes around America and he like films and interviews people that have just from the worst of worst backgrounds, from like, you know, prostitution to pimps to drug dealers to like multiple offenders to gangs, and you look at their circumstances, and are they nice fundamentally? Like, no, but like look at the circumstances.
yeah, exactly, where they grew up.
Grew up, you know, where they've been neglected, and
Yeah,
the
exactly.
state let them down, the government let them down. They've just seen horrendous things, and then you're like, well, no wonder that they're not
Exactly.
model members of society.
They have
because they
no
got let
idea
down.
what's out there.
So I also think that when it comes down to being nice, there's got to be a fundamental change within everything, and that's including kind of upstairs, where people are making decisions where it doesn't favor other people, and you know that leads to a world of animosity. And you know, look at certain situations right now. You know, war that no one really wants, that's being made by
Exactly.
decisions with people that don't care, and that creates more anger and more. Excuse me. You know, on the Joe Rogan, they have like a button where
Yeah, I was thinking about saying we need
one
the same,
day,
we need the same button. Yeah,
But it's really sad, because what it does is it completely removes the potential away from what the human being actually is. And I think that it does kind of start with trying to raise awareness that you can change. And I think that that's kind of also what this kind of episode is about, is, you know, anyone that listening to this that feels that maybe they could do better or be a better person or wants to develop themselves, that you can change and be a nice person regardless of maybe your circumstance. You know, you've gone through shit, I've gone through shit, everyone's gone through some kind of form of shit. But it doesn't mean that's you fundamental as the character.
Yeah.
You know, you can change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of strength and a lot of ability to understand that. And it kind of comes from why we're so obsessed with self-development, right? Because you've seen it within yourself. You've seen a part of you change and change for the better, and you want to be able to spread that and change that. And I think, the world should and be a nicer place to be. You know, make things far more easier.
How would you go about change yourself?
Like me,
as in, if you don't feel like you're a kind person, but you want to become kinder, what would you do?
Sometimes a lot of people say that I'm maybe too nice, but
yeah,
I think so at times, for sure. I mean, I always try try and just be better than I was yesterday. And I think that comes with being as honest as I can be, as authentic as I can be, and not to the point where I'm people pleasing
Yeah,
or trying to
absolutely.
please others. I
Have
think
to
there's
set
too much of
boundaries
that,
as
and
well, right?
we can touch on that as well for those that maybe that are too nice. But
Hey guys, your feedback is very important. And no, this is not an advertisement. Actually, what I'm asking from you is to leave a comment below what you liked and most importantly, what you disliked about this episode, because we can improve on the next episodes and we can make a better content for you to listen. Give us also a topics you'd like to us talking about, and we can prepare, do your research and talk about it on the next episodes. Thank you.
what it comes down to is no fear, not having the fear of judgment of others. So completely eradicating that, because I think if you're too inside your own head about what others think of you, like just be fundamentally yourself. Like that's such an important like thing that I can address on. I think that allows you to become a nicer person is removing that sense of fear that other people will think less of you if you do this or that. You know.
Yeah.
What about you?
I guess it comes from a little little steps, little things of kindness, you could call it. So you could start from a simple action of letting a seat on the tube for an older person, or
Yeah.
I think it creates a chain reaction from
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you not only, I feel every time I do something good, I remember I told you that story where I found a bag with a laptop and a phone and all the documents, and I called the person
And you told them you had it
and
and
told
stuff.
them I
Yeah.
had them, and I didn't even ask anything for it, and she brought some sweets, which was really cool.
Mm.
But that made me feel good, and I knew I did something good, rather than just going and selling that in for like 100 quid or something. But that created that made me feel good, and I at the same time I feel it created a chain reaction, because now if she's going to find something, a bag, a phone, or a laptop on a tube, whatever,
She
I
did
think
this.
she's gonna do
Yeah.
the same, because she received that as well. So I feel like if every person would start to make little adjustments every single day to do something kind and nice, and it doesn't need to be give your salary away for homeless people or for that charity. It's all about those little things, I guess.
So
Just call your friend and say, "How are you, mate?" Or tell your mom, "I love you."
I totally agree, because I also think, without getting too like woke and woo woo about
Exactly.
it's also what you put out is kind of, I feel, what you get back.
Yeah.
And I do think that not that say that like karma is the thing. You know, some people believe that, some people don't. But I think fundamentally, if you're putting out kindness into the world, it does generally give back to you in ways. You know, because you feel it. Like even if you're helping someone with their bags, right, and you're like, "Oh, let me help you." Go up the stairs and give someone a hand with their bags.
That's it.
Fundamentally, you feel better in yourself.
Yeah.
I think that only creates more of a positive reaction to your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it does start with the small things, and I think gratitude as well is another big one. Being grateful for what you have and for those around you, and spreading that in a way that's positive allows you to be a nicer, more respectful human being. Because when it comes to gratitude, it's such an important practice, because it allows you to be present instead of trying to think too far ahead or too far in the past.
It's just focusing on what you have right now, right?
And
it's interesting, because I wanted to touch on that, where you don't need to break a bank to do something good. It's all about these small things. But I remember 3 or 4 years, I was working in this marketing agency, and I had got a large payday at that time for myself, and I thought, well, because I got it, I'm gonna do something good, and I and I got a tenner and I gave it to a homeless person, but
wow.
I gave it. It's not loud because I was a dickhead for doing that. Because I mean, I did good, but the reason I did it, it was because, because I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna give it to him. I expected to receive more.
Oh, I
Do
see.
you know what I
So
mean?
you went in with the intention that
Yeah, I went there with intention. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give it, but I expect to get tenfold, and obviously,
I think kindness has to be unconditional.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
you don't expect. I gave that back to that person, and
Has
I didn't expect anything.
for sure. It has to come with a place of,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, no expectation. It's like when you do something nice for your girl, or
Exactly. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, because it's almost like when you're trying to be. And I'm reading this really interesting book called No More Mr. Nice Guy, which is why it was such an interesting topic to choose
Mm.
whilst I'm reading that book.
I read that as well.
And you know, when it talks about how kind of nice guys where they try and get what they want, but they come across like they don't need anything because they don't want to. But what they'll do is they'll try and manipulate by. I think there was a part in the book where
Yeah.
they're giving in order to, but
Receive.
they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah,
In order
yeah.
to get their needs met, even though they come across as if they don't want their needs met.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a bit of maybe manipulation if you're doing it with a trade-off.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you're
absolutely.
going in with the act of kindness, where there is no ill intent or manipulation or expectation to receive as well,
Yeah.
and you know, because that's just like a trade-off. But that's where it's true kindness is where it's unconditional, and it's like, you know, I want to be able to do that for you. Or
So that's why I think it's very important to start with the things that you can do it, and it doesn't really allow you any resources. As long as you feel, as long as you did something good and it feels good for yourself, that's it. That's enough. And again, it can start from something like letting a seat on the tube, or letting someone go first on a train instead of yourself. It's just those little things. I feel what when you start to show those little actions of kindness, that's where you become a better person, and you create more goodness in the world, and people are going to see it, and people going to try to do the same for other people. And I think that's the chain of reaction that we're missing.
What do you think boundaries do when it comes to setting more trust and more, say, respect between you and, let's say, you and your partner, for example? What do having boundaries do for you in that relationship when it comes to cultivating more respect?
How do you mean that? How do you mean by that?
When you think about having boundaries, what do you think it is about having boundaries that allows you to establish more trust and respect in your relationship? Let's say your romantic relationship. What do you think having boundaries does?
I guess that's what it does. It just creates more respect and more respect for each other.
Yeah.
As an example, if my partner wouldn't, what she doesn't like. Again, I guess every girlfriend or every boyfriend wouldn't like your partner going flirting intentionally with other girls or other guys, right?
Yeah.
So I guess setting boundary that I don't like this, and don't do it because
It upsets me. Yeah.
it upsets me, and I feel like an idiot. Like you putting myself, you making me look like I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
While you're doing this, because I feel like that's how you set boundaries. And I'm not trying to be insecure, but it's just you simply don't respect me if you're doing that. And I guess boundaries are very different for each and individual person. Like maybe some couples like when other half going and talking with other people, but other girls,
Yeah.
guys, but
Because I think it allows you to create more safety, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think the more safety that you create in any relationship that you have by having boundaries, it allows you to be able to trust yourself more. And I think the more that you trust yourself, you're able to build further connections. It provides a guide when navigating a bit of an emotional roller coaster, which is what any relationship is. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, humans are extremely emotional that have lots of different character traits and everything else. And when you're trying to navigate any kind of friendship or relationship, it's what clear boundary does it that I have that I need in order to set to make this work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that will always create more safety between understanding what values and priorities that you need met when fostering more understanding for each other.
Yeah.
And that was one that I learned from doing like therapy and talking to Charlie more. Actually, like Charlie really taught me that, because if I think about our relationship in business, we had to like establish so many different boundaries, especially being brothers in a family business. Because where we removed the sense before, when we didn't have boundaries, we kind of removed the filters. So we had no respect for one another in business or at work because he was my brother. And
Really?
yeah, well, I mean, I always had respect for him as a brother. Of course I did. And as a family member. But when it came to like business decisions and trying to navigate a work environment, I was like, I can talk to you like that because you're my brother. But, you know, we're not.
This is crazy.
Yeah, when we're not colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we had to create all these boundaries as when we're at work and we identify ourselves as colleagues, as
Exactly.
we do. And then when we're family, and we can kind of have a bit more fun and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's something that really taught me about understanding boundaries as fundamental to have in a relationship going forward, because I think it creates a lot more safety for you to be able to really trust someone.
Yeah.
And I think that that's always a really good thing to have.
Interesting. As I was doing the research on this topic, I found every time we come up with a topic, and as I'm doing the research, I usually go away from the topic and I start to research different things. I mean, related to that topic, but just from looking from the topic from different angles. And one of the topics that came up was being empathetic will help you to battle your own demons. And
Nice.
I think it's a very, very good point, because when I was in a retreat, well, it was like, it's probably 3 years ago. That's meditation retreat for 10 days. And the instructor said that people who are bitter and angry and negative, it's like they carry a knife that is stuck in their heart, and they walking around with that knife, and because it's so bad for them, they're trying to stab other people. And it clicked with me, because usually the people that are very negative, bitter, something happened to them. They're not naturally that. It's just, again, life experiences, circumstances, the different reasons why they become these people. And I think showing a little bit of kindness to, you know, that you are fucked in a way, that you're very negative, you're bitter, you're angry, but showing a little bit of kindness to other people, to yourself, gonna help you to kind of get that knife out and start to heal that wound. And while you're showing that kindness, that wound gets healed more and more. That's the way I look at it. Would you think?
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting observation. I think when it comes to showing extended empathy for yourself, it's, or for other people, it's kind of more putting yourself in their position and their shoes, right?
Yeah, understanding the struggles, and having having some empathy for yourself as well at the same time.
Because that's a really hard one. I think people don't have, is better empathy for themselves and actually giving themselves a bit more credit where credit's due. We're so quick to judge ourselves, and I think that sometimes allows you not to be so kind.
Yeah, because I think at the beginning on our episode, I mentioned that a lot of people are kind to each other but struggle to be kind to ourselves, and that's that was drawn from my own experiences. I think I was, as you mentioned, people pleasing and trying to be good to other people, but when it came to myself, I was kind of brushing this under the rug and wasn't that kind to myself. And therapy as well helped me to definitely become a lot kinder to myself and
Mm.
talk to myself in a friendly manner. I'm not an enemy to myself anymore. I'm more like a friend and um, yeah, more like a friend.
Yeah, it's like knowing yourself on a level and being okay with that,
Yeah,
and giving yourself the opportunity to be okay to fluctuate. Like, you're not supposed to be this amazing continuous person all the
mhm,
time. Like, you're not going to be nice all the time. Like, there are times where I don't want to know anyone or speak to anyone. Like, sometimes I can come across as a dick, but I mean, it's checking that ego.
yeah,
Obviously not doing it intentionally, but I feel we all have periods or moments, and we all have our times where we can kind of be short. Maybe
yeah,
it's like you're hungry or you're not feeling you, and that's okay too. I always used to feel that I should never be a dick. I should always be the kindest, nicest person. And I think there can be times where you can be too nice.
yeah.
And
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
can't just cure more kindness with more kindness. It's like you say, it's understanding yourself and knowing your boundaries and knowing your self-worth, and not doing it from a place of, because I think you can become resentful if you're too kind all the time. Like, it, in a way.
I definitely agree. In that book that you're reading right now, No Me, Mr. Nice Guy, is I guess a lot of people are confusing those two, kind and being too nice.
Yeah.
Just nice in general. You can be kind, but you can have boundaries. And if you're just being nice, that what other people asking you, you just do it.
Mm.
It's not really nice or
It's
kind.
not the right,
You're just
yeah.
pleasing people. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's not that attractive as well, because if people going to ask you and push you around, it's just what self worth you having anymore.
Mm. No, I totally agree. And I feel that that's where I was getting caught up, especially, I think, was I felt like I had to be like the most optimal human to others in order to seek validation.
Mhm.
And that was always a big one, was being nice for external validation, when actually it comes from having validation for
Mhm.
you and
Mhm.
knowing you on a level where I don't need anyone's approval in order to know that I'm nice. I know that I am
Mhm.
that. I don't need to do anything that's going to try and allow me to feel praise from someone. I think that was also a really important factor, especially from what I understand from that book,
Yeah.
what I'm understanding while reading it,
Yeah.
is being okay and comfortable within your own skin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Um, I touch on empathy creates strong relationships. What does it mean to you?
Empathy, what's it?
Empathy creates strong relationships.
Yeah, because it allows you to have a deeper understanding for the person that you're trying to understand, right?
Mm.
Like, when you're researching that topic, what did you come to? Like,
So I thought about.
I need that.
That's all right. You're old, man. You're old, so it's understandable. So the reason I came up with this topic, empathy creates strong relationships. Not topic, but just a section of it, because I was thinking about arguments and conflicts when you have with your loved one. Let's just say. So whenever you have an argument, I think it's very important to le- just get your ego out of the way and think about the situation from her or from his side, and then just be empathetic to the situation itself as well, because you never know why she's feeling that way. There was so many times that in my past relationships that I just got angry, and then after realizing that it was actually my fault, and I got angry at the situation because we having an argument rather than just actually thinking about how she feels about
Hmm.
that situation itself.
Hmm.
So it's very very important to create that empathy for a person, and not only romantic relationships. I'm talking about any relationships really. If you're having a rough time, it's important for me to listen and not judge you, most importantly.
Because you're always going into things with what you think and
Yeah,
all of everything that makes up you
yeah,
into the
exactly.
situation, and it's removing that, and that's really hard because that's removing your ego,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone has that. And
yeah,
it's good to
absolutely,
have that.
absolutely.
It's good to have it. Like I don't think ego is a bad thing. But when it comes to identifying issues or problems, or like you're saying, arguments, it's about trying to understand it fundamentally from a level that's makes up them and who they are and where they see things and their perspectives.
Mm.
And I think when you're able to have that level of empathy or that level of understanding of others where you know or you're trying to understand their perspective at least, or respect their opinion, or respect in way in which they think that, that only allows you to be you're only doing that from a place of kindness, because
Mm.
it allows you to understand because I believe that you can't understand one situation just by looking at one perspective. I think you have to look at things from
3D. Yeah.
from every angle. So even when it comes to an argument that might not necessarily be my fault, I'm still very much interested to understand why in which they came to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, let me understand it from your point of view. Don't let me interrupt that.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. It's very important to, um, as you mentioned, understand. And I remember I learned that when I was in this situationship, I would call it. It wasn't relationship, but every relationship I had before that, I would still call them situationship. Um, it was all shouting and arguments and no, you didn't do this, but I did well, and you didn't do well, and she says the same. But I remember when I got into this situationship for 3 months, we had arguments, but it was sitting down and actually getting to the core of the problem.
Mm.
You can cough, it's fine.
No, I'm just saying.
We get into the core of the problem, and that's the that was the best thing I learned from her, because we never shouted, we we simply communicated the problem, and I really enjoyed it, because in my household when I grew up, it was all about arguments and shouting and being loud, and everyone is right. Well, everyone is thinking that they are right, but there was no problem solving in a way. But my girlfriend and I at that time, we sat down and we actually sorted the problem. And afterwards, I was like, "Damn, this is just, I've never had such a vulnerable moment, but at the same time, I feel so much stronger because I actually solved the problem rather than just ignoring it and blaming other people.
Mm.
So, but you can do that by only feeling empathetic to other person, and actually, again, detaching your ego from yourself and sitting down and listening what they think, and then you can put your own thoughts into the problem, I would say.
Exactly, because I think you can only put your own thoughts and opinions once you've only understood and fully respected theirs.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that's a really important point, because I think we're very quick to protect our position so quickly and
Yeah.
defend our position by all means necessary, swords drawn. I'm going to defend this to the very
Yeah,
end.
yeah. And sometimes you find yourself, from my own experience, sorry for cutting you,
No.
but sometimes you find in yourself, even if you're not right and you know you're not right, you're still defending it because you stepped too far with everything you said already. So
And I just think that immediately, and I'm sorry, Charlie, I'm going to use your example. So on like Saturday, you might hate this, but I don't think he'll see this by the time it comes out, so it's fine. So on Saturday, Charlie was working by himself because we just had a bit of a staff shortage and all this sort of stuff. And I'm totally speaking for him, but it's funny. And he was supposed to go see his girlfriend like after he finished work, and he was slammed. Like he couldn't leave. He was just really behind. And he was like, I can't leave work. I can't leave work early. I'm going to miss the show that they were supposed to see this evening. Got all tied up.
No.
And I think she went off on him a little bit. And he was like, I've had a really hard day. I've had a really hard week. Like we both have been working a lot and not easy. And she was kind of going off, and he really tried. So he left, and because I was like, yeah, go leave early, it's fine. But he was like, I missed the show, but I'll still go and see it tonight. And he like left. He was trying to get all these replacement bus services and trains. It took him 2 hours, and he still wasn't there. And then he called me and was like, you know what? I'm coming home. I'm actually going home. And I was like, good for you, Matt. And I think she was really annoyed because obviously she wanted to see him because she hadn't seen him and they weren't going to see each other for another couple of weeks and all the rest of it. So she was upset, and he was like, I feel like she's really angry at me, but she doesn't understand where I'm coming from, even though I've had a really hard, long day at work. And, I wish she would just see things from my perspective. Anyway, like a day went by and I was like, oh, did you manage to sort things out with Lily? And he was like, oh, yeah, she actually apologized because.
Oh, that's really
And
helpful.
I thought, oh, wow, what an actual, like, nice thing to hear. And I knew that she was being really empathetic to his situation. And she was actually, yeah, I was annoyed because at the time I just wanted to see you, when actually I didn't understand that you had this horrible hard day and this whole week and everything. But you get caught up in it. You get caught up in the emotional
Absolutely.
sides of it. And you can't
Absolutely.
blame people for that. And I
Absolutely.
think when a day passes or a couple of days passes, you go, oh, fuck, maybe I shouldn't have been so angry at you. But at the time you are. And for some people it might take a day or a couple of hours, whatever it might be. But I had this respect hearing that because I was like, wow, she actually has so much empathy, actually, really, when you think about it, and is supportive and understands that,
Yeah.
that it's not.
That's definitely what I've learned in my current relationship, because there were times where we talking about something and I just fire up and I just go like I just go on about it. And now when something happens that I'm really pissed off, I just say, give me like we almost have this 24 hours rule. So
Okay.
whenever we both pissed, we say let's talk in 24 hours. So we
Shit.
stop talking
Damn.
and then we just chat after 24 hours because all the emotions are down. Sometimes it takes 48, but all the emotions are down, and then we kind of talk. But that's really beautiful of his
Yeah, no,
girlfriend,
it's
because
really nice.
sounds they have a very healthy
Yeah, it's really, and
relationship.
it's one I really look up to and really kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
admire, because it's really strong when you look at things like that, and when you look at the empathy and kind of putting yourselves in each other's shoes, and like you say, even when emotions arise and you're trying to be kind and respectful, it's looking at looking at it from a place of kindness. Okay, well, I only want what's best for you, so I look at it from your position.
Absolutely. Wrote down some random acts of kindness. Sorry, kindness.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't even speak. So I'm gonna tell them, and if you have anything to add,
Go
add.
for it.
So giving a bus or tube seat to others, that's one of them. One of them that I like the most. Buying a coffee for the person behind you.
Oh, nice.
Um,
I would
never
love to
done
do
it.
that. Yeah,
Never
yeah.
done it.
You've got to be able to practice what you preach, bro.
Exactly. But one day. No, I mean, I buy coffees to my friends, so that's
Okay, that
kind
makes
of.
sense. Yeah.
Tell people that they are doing well and mean it. Don't praise if there is no base. Oh, I like that. Yeah, so tell people that they're doing well, but actually mean it. Volunteering. Have you ever volunteered?
I have volunteered. Yeah, I do love it. I really enjoy it. I'd like to do it more.
What was your favorite thing to do?
So I volunteered helping out, giving like food, like sort of working in a kitchen, and sort of, and also me and Charlie have also given free meals and stuff,
Lovely.
and tried to do stuff like that. Yeah, I think giving back is really important.
Absolutely. Calling your friend, family member, and telling them that you love them. I started to do that a lot with my mom now, because she's 65 now, and I'm conscious enough to know that she has less and less time on this planet, and I don't want to. I don't want to be in that situation where she leaves and all I'm thinking about is I wish I said I love you more, or I wish I hugged her more, and I wish we had more deeper conversations. So every time we having a little argument or I'm angry at her, sometimes I always try to calm myself down and say, just relax, because you never know when it's the last time. So yeah, calling a friend, family member, and saying that I love you is I think is a great act of kindness. Active listening, when someone tells you you're important, an important personal thing. That's one of the things.
Yeah, there's listening, and then there's like really listening, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Smiling, smiling to a stranger. Not sure if that's a good thing to do in London because you'll be called you'll be
get
called a
punched.
creep.
Yeah.
And showing empathy, just being empathetic and kind to other people.
Yeah, for sure. I think all of those examples allow you to have more empathy. It's funny because when you're going on about your mum and stuff, last week on like Tuesday, my mum called me and was like, "Oh, just so you know, we might put the dog down." And I was like, oh, "Fuck!" Like me and Charlie were both so upset because like a dog is essentially like a family member. And Charlie was like, "Why is this happening to us right now? It's been such a kind of a crazy start to the year. It's not really being the front foot forward." And I was like, "What do you think? What do you think this is? What does this tell you?" Or like, what? And Charlie was like, "I don't know. Like, what does Rafa maybe getting put down today tell me?" And it was like, it tells me to want to be with my family more, and I know I don't do that enough. And luckily, like he's now going to have an operation. He should be fine. But in that moment, I was like, I need to actually understand what is important.
Exactly, man.
And that was kind of actually, it's not working all the time and doing, yeah, we will have times where we're busy and stuff, but actually what it is
Yeah, man.
when something is kind of immediately taken away, I immediately started thinking about all the times I didn't spend enough time with my dog. It's funny because I was like, man, I should have maybe walked him more. I should have maybe taken him out more. And yeah, it was just in that moment, it kind of made me realize actually I should, like you say, call your family more.
Exactly.
All those
Man.
that you care about.
Exactly. Call your family, call your friends, and tell them you love them if you do.
But I think it should be kind of, and concluding it, I think it should be an ever evolving aspect of your life, kindness. I don't think it should be
Absolutely.
something that you just do one off.
Yeah,
something that you kind of incorporate. And I think that we all ask for respect.
Yeah.
And yes, it is the bare minimum of what we should all have. But equally, we have to be just as respectful out there. Going to a secret question then.
Yeah? Oh, completely forgot about it. Yeah.
When was the last time you were truly kind to someone and what led you to want to do it?
Oh, I guess today, because I went to see my mom today. And at the same time, she went to work, and I was going here to do the podcast because she does evening shifts, and yeah, I just hugged her, kissed her, and I said, I missed you, and that was great.
Nice.
Yeah, man, that was the thing. As I said, I've really tried to spend a lot more time with her, with family in general, and now that I'm moving to Manchester, it's a bit
More of a reason to do it.
more the reason to do it, yeah. I know I'm gonna be back here to shoot the podcast every month or so, but it's better to do more than less, you know, right? So yeah, that's it. I have a secret question for you. What's the kindest thing you've ever received from a stranger?
The kindest thing I ever received from a stranger. Probably like free drugs or something. Right.
Drug dealers are the kindest people.
Yeah,
you know?
like in a rave, you know, someone's like, "Hey, here's some,
Yes, everyone is so
here's
kind.
some free pills, bro." And I'm just like, yeah, I want something. Like honestly, probably the kindest thing I've received from a stranger, if I think about it. Or maybe a hug. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe a hug or something. Nothing too
That's
weird.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, probably say that.
All right.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you
see
so
you in the
much.
next
Thank
one.
you for tuning in. I feel the main message of this podcast is just to be kind, more sympathetic to each other, and spread the love.
Nice. Thank you.